This is the African savanna, an open landscape that seems endless, yet deceptive. Here, every shadow can conceal a predator, and every silence can feel like the moment before a roar. How do you survive in a place like this? Welcome to Planet Tribes, where stories aren't told, they're uncovered. Today, we follow the Hadzabe through an entire day of their lives. We'll see how they hunt and gather, and how they avoid danger without confronting it directly. Because for them, survival is not about defeating a predator, but about understanding it. We will encounter a kind of awareness the modern world has largely forgotten. Living with risk, rather than trying to eliminate it. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join the community. Stay until the end, because this journey reveals something unsettling. How it is possible to live surrounded by predators without fighting them, and why that knowledge is disappearing. Are you ready to find out? 1. Hadzabe Territory, the watchful savanna. Near Lake Eyasi, in the Great Rift Valley, these people have lived for generations in a land that allows no distractions and offers no second chances. Their origins have been studied for decades, revealing a unique cultural continuity distinct from the farming and pastoral societies around them. The savanna opens before us, vast and golden beneath the African sun. At first glance, it appears empty, almost simple. Yet here, nothing is neutral. Every detail carries information. There are no blind spots. No silence is innocent. A misplaced step or a missed sign can break the balance and turn the environment into an immediate threat. They move carefully, touching the ground lightly, testing the firmness of the soil, the texture of the grass, the weight of each branch. Every contact with the land is a constant assessment. Trees stand scattered, offering brief patches of shade that barely soften the heat. The grass sways in the wind and, beneath its dry surface, lie clues only a trained eye can read. In the distance, beneath a solitary tree, a lion rests. It watches patiently, absorbed into the landscape as though it belongs there. It never moves without reason. Every muscle is ready to respond in an instant. Here, the savanna is not a passive backdrop, but a living system, where every sound, every shadow, and every shift in direction holds meaning. Danger doesn't arrive all at once. It's always there, woven into the landscape, waiting to be read before it turns into an attack. In this watchful territory, the real work of reading the land begins. From the wide sweep of the savanna, attention narrows to the smallest details. The ground, the tracks, the texture of dry earth, where each sign becomes a warning or an opportunity. The daily dance of survival begins with eyes fixed on dust and grass. Yet the savanna does more than threaten. It also provides. Knowing where edible fruits will grow, where to dig for nourishing roots, or how to follow the hum of bees to honey hidden in a hollow tree is part of the same knowledge. Here, even the slightest change can be decisive. This open land can only be understood through direct experience. The heat strikes without mercy. Trees are sparse, and shade is almost always brief. Every bush, every crack in the ground, every displaced stone can reveal who passed through, when, and in which direction. Lions are not rare events. They are silent neighbors, present within the landscape, watching from afar. Sometimes they rest in the shade. At other times, they move slowly through the grass, unseen until the wind betrays them. They never underestimate a predator. The savanna is alive, breathing, alert, and those who inhabit it are part of this constant flow of information. How many invisible threats do we overlook in a place that appears open and safe? Looking at the horizon is not enough when one cannot interpret what is happening within it. The way grass is, pressed down, how antelopes lift their heads, or the restless direction of birds are signals read here with precision. You now understand the land they inhabit. Next, you will see how they move and hunt within it. Stay focused, because what comes next will leave a lasting impression. 2. Reading the predator, tracks, signals, and silence. The savanna holds secrets that cannot be seen from afar. Every footprint in the dry earth, every broken branch, every subtle movement in the grass is a signal that can mean the difference between life and death. Reading a predator is not optional. It is knowledge learned in childhood and refined through daily experience. The first thing they search for is tracks on the ground. A fresh mark may reveal that a lion passed through minutes earlier. Even the faintest trace is enough to change direction. There's no room for improvisation. Every choice can keep you alive, or get you killed. But tracks are not the only warning. The behavior of other animals reveals what the human eye cannot see. A bird gives a different call. An antelope freezes, its gaze fixed on an unseen point. Baboons climb higher and tense their bodies. The message is unmistakable. A predator is nearby. Faced with these signs, running is not an option. It would trigger the lion's hunting instinct and place the group in immediate danger. They move slowly, together, communicating through whispers barely audible. Every sound, every step, every breath sends a message. We are here, but we are not easy prey. They favor open paths, where visibility allows anticipation. Dense vegetation is avoided, where an attack could come without warning. Movement is synchronized. There's no rush, only vigilance. At first glance, this may seem like simple caution. Here, it marks the line between life and death. The savanna does not always announce danger with a roar. Often, it does so in silence, and only those who know how to observe can detect it in time. Once the risk has been avoided, the next task begins. Finding food. The land that moments before was a threat becomes a field of opportunity. Could you read the predator, or would you become prey? Every decision made in the face of danger buys them the safety to hunt, gather, and survive one more day. Now we move to the most vital aspect of their survival. 3. Small game, patience over strength. Once the danger has been read and the great predators avoided, another daily test begins, surviving on minimal resources. In a landscape where threats linger, even the slightest movement can mean the difference between food and emptiness. They track hares hidden in dry grass, ground birds that leave almost no trace, and small rodents that dart from one bush to the next. Each sign is subtle, yet it carries complete information, direction, speed, behavior. Flattened grass, a snapped twig, a near-invisible mark in hard soil can set the course of the hunt. Sometimes a trace so faint you can barely see it is enough to choose where to go. And following it may take hours. Success is never guaranteed. Every opportunity is delicate and fleeting. Still, what they manage to secure can sustain the entire community. To an outside observer, hunting small prey might seem insignificant. Here, every hare and every ground bird holds life, protein, energy, continuity. The reward does more than feed the body. It reinforces a relationship built on patience, precision, and respect. Abundance is not always found in what is large, but in steadiness and in the willingness to wait. While the modern world rewards speed and instant results, this way of life proves that careful observation, restraint, and measured action can be the most effective strategy. And when the hunt yields nothing, a different kind of knowledge takes over. Gathering becomes the priority. Hidden roots, ripe wild fruit, and above all, honey concealed inside hollow trees turn into essential allies. The shift between hunting and gathering is not improvised. It is a flow learned from childhood, ensuring that nothing is wasted and that the community can endure even when predators dominate the land. A question becomes unavoidable. When was the last time patience protected your survival? Every decision in this environment determines whether the day continues or ends. The savanna does not forgive mistakes. Only those who can wait and understand keep moving forward. 4. Gathering and honey, the savanna's invisible map. When small game becomes scarce or unpredictable, survival is not a matter of luck. The savanna still provides, yet only to those who know how to read it. A trained eye spots ripe wild fruits, roots hidden beneath hardened ground, and fungi growing in the shade of old trees. This is not simply looking, it is interpretation, colors, shapes, textures. A leaf with a faint yellow tint can be a clue that nearby fruit has reached its best moment. The base of a tree, the tone of its bark, the sheen of damp soil, each can function as a signal. Even the quietest sounds carry meaning. The hum of insects, the brush of leaves, the movement of small animals. Together, they point toward food and water. That is how the savanna's invisible map reveals itself. But the most prized resource is not always in plain sight. Honey, the sweet gold of this land, demands an even finer precision. Following the bee's buzz is not a game, it is a craft learned from childhood. Reading their direction, anticipating hollow trees, and judging the safety of each hive requires experience. Climbing is not just physical effort, it demands balance, patience, and an exact awareness of the surroundings, because one wrong move can mean stings, or a dangerous fall. The reward is immense, concentrated energy, vital for long distances, and sustained focus in a territory ruled by predators. If this journey through the savanna is showing you a kind of knowledge that doesn't live in books or on screens, subscribe to the channel and keep watching. What comes next completes the invisible map that holds their survival together. Gathering does not happen in isolation. It shifts naturally with the hunt. Some days are defined by tracks and trails, others are carried by roots and honey alone. Each practice supports the other, forming a survival cycle tuned to the rhythm of the savanna. Every fruit collected, every root unearthed, every portion of honey does more than feed the body. It reinforces knowledge passed down through generations, built on observation, patience, and respect for the land. With hands full and the day's work done, the constant motion of the savanna begins to slow. The day gives way to the return to camp, where fire and community are waiting. 5. The fire, sharing as survival. The sun begins to sink and the savanna changes its face. The light turns warm, shadows stretch out, and the wind carries the sounds of a day that is about to fall behind them. They return to camp. Steps once governed by alertness and patience begin to soften. The tension that shaped every movement loosens, little by little. Around the central fire, everything moves to a different rhythm. This is not an ending, but a shift into another form of vigilance. Collective vigilance. Here, survival is not built on individual strength, but on shared knowledge. Food gathered throughout the day passes into experienced hands. Small animals are divided into modest portions, cleaned carefully, and set on branches to roast slowly over the embers. Roots and fruits are checked once more. Experience decides what must be cooked, what can be eaten raw, and what should be discarded. Honey, earned with such effort, becomes the day's closing gift. A simple food that holds the patience and skill accumulated across the journey. But the fire is more than warmth and nourishment. It's where information is shared. As the embers glow, quiet voices move through the circle. Tracks seen during the day are discussed, along with shifts in the wind and unfamiliar sounds that may signal predators nearby. Each account adds a piece to an invisible puzzle that keeps everyone safe. What might seem like a minor detail to an outsider can, here, separate safety from danger. Knowledge travels with the smoke. A child learns to recognize tracks by watching the elders. A young woman fixes the location of honey in her memory. Adults debate strategies for the next day. Learning is lived and shared, and every voice strengthens the group's protection. Inside this circle, the Savanna feels distant, almost unseen. Yet vigilance never truly fades. The day is over, but memory remains awake. As night settles over the camp, the community grows quiet. Smoke rises into the star-filled sky, carrying the day's stories and the experience gathered. With the fire burning, survival stops being individual and becomes shared knowledge. 6. Justice on the Savanna. Among the Hadzabe, justice operates in a way that can feel radically different from what many of us are used to. In a society without chiefs, police, or formal hierarchies, punishment is not framed as an external imposition, but as a rupture in the balance that makes survival possible. There are no courts and no written laws. Private property, in the modern sense, is also absent. Actions that elsewhere might be labeled crimes, such as theft, lose their meaning in a setting where sharing is not a moral preference, but a collective necessity. When conflict arises between individuals, the response is rarely confrontation or violence. The most effective tool is mobility. Instead of confinement or penalties, those involved may choose to separate and move to other camps. Using the openness of the Savanna as a natural form of self-regulation that dissolves tension before it escalates. This way of handling disagreement protects cohesion without constant surveillance. There are no prisons because the strongest pressure is not exerted by an authority, but by the community's gaze and the loss of the group's trust. Here, justice does not look backward to punish a wrong. It works in the present to restore living together. Survival depends on deep cooperation and mutual respect, especially in an environment where external danger never truly disappears. The question is unavoidable: can justice exist without punishment? For the Hadzabe, the answer lies in everyday life. Freedom of movement, the commitment to share, and the awareness that no one survives alone have shaped a form of coexistence where cohesion matters more than sanction. 7. Simple funeral rites. For the Hadzabe, death does not stop time, nor does it demand monuments. It is not an event meant to be carved in stone, but a quiet return to the same land that supported the individual throughout life. When a member of the group dies, the response is direct and practical. The body is buried in a shallow grave, often wrapped in a personal blanket and covered with thorny branches and stones. The aim is not commemoration, but protection from scavengers and a return to the ecosystem without disturbance. There are no gravestones or permanent marks left on the landscape. Memory is not tied to a fixed place. It lives within the group, which continues its journey. The most meaningful act comes afterward. Following the burial, the camp is abandoned. Few belongings are gathered, and the community moves on, leaving behind the place where death occurred. This movement is not driven by fear or superstition. It reflects a deep understanding of grief and environment. Staying would mean anchoring oneself to the past. Moving allows life to continue. By leaving no lasting traces of their presence or departure, the Hadzabe express detachment from material things and acceptance that humans are temporary inhabitants of the land. Here, saying goodbye does not mean holding on. It means letting go and walking forward. When night falls over the savanna and stars reflect along the golden horizon, the Hadzabe day comes to an end. Yet what we have witnessed does not fade with the dark. Throughout this journey, every gesture has revealed itself as a decision. Reading fresh tracks, interpreting animal behavior, hunting only what is necessary, gathering with precision, and sharing food around the fire. This is not an extraordinary day. It is everyday life, a way of existing where every movement carries meaning and every action follows a balance that allows no mistakes. Here lies the essential revelation. The Hadzabe do not survive through strength, weapons, or speed. They endure through deep awareness, an understanding of their surroundings that turns threat into information and risk into knowledge. The lion is not an enemy. It is part of the same system they have learned to read. Their true vulnerability is not the landscape or the predators. It lies in the contrast with a world that has forgotten how to observe, how to listen, and how to wait. And now the final question becomes unavoidable. Are we truly safer surrounded by technology and screens? Or have we lost the ability to read what matters most and act with patience and precision when it truly counts? We invite you to share your reflection. If this journey feels unfinished, type this episode's keyword in the comments: African Savanna. And if you want to keep exploring places where humans do not dominate nature, but learn to live alongside it, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because while some see the savanna as empty space, others still know how to read it. And understanding that is only the beginning.